Mr. Qaeda, with your experience of 2 years, do you think that a solution in the next 5 years is possible to the Afghan quagmire?
I don't think we are out of Afghanistan in 5 years, and I'm glad you asked that question, because some are seeing mid-2011 as some kind of deadline. What they've said in Washington is, of course, that we will start reducing the troop level at that time, after a tremendous increase in the level of American troops. But mid-2011 must not be seen by the international community as some kind of magical point where the international community as such can start a reduction of its engagement militarily or in financial terms. It has to go on. We will not have ended the work we need to do in Afghanistan in 5 years, but what I believe is important is over the next 12 months we must see that negative trends have been turned in a more positive direction. If not, then I'm afraid that these trends may become irreversible. And I've said that. I believe that the period between now and mid-2011 will be critical to the development of the region. But look at, for instance, the one element that we have almost not spoken about, and for me is tremendously important: the building of civilian Afghan institutions, ministries, provincial governors, district governors, today underdeveloped, underfinanced. It would need several $100 million for a nationwide program. That's what I'd like to see. And I'd like to see the Kabul conference this spring, summer, to agree on such a national program. And then also on the economic side. How much money have we really spent on sustainable Afghan growth to make Afghanistan less dependent on international aid, not more dependent on international aid? Unfortunately, we have not spent enough attention, given enough attention to making the Afghan economy sustainable by itself, which is necessary.
Mr. Qaeda, we have been seeing such kind of pledges since the Bonn conference on Afghanistan. Every time these commitments are made and all these good intention plans are made, but once it comes to implementation, unless there is peace on the ground and the insurgency is taken care of and regional interests are balanced, nothing is possible on that count. So why have such hopes from the Kabul conference?
I disagree. I believe that you can do a lot in areas of the country that are stable or reasonably stable, that would seriously stimulate the economy, not only of that part of the country, but would also gradually stimulate the entire country. And I believe also that a state building or nation building, institution building program can be developed even in the present situation where conflict is raging in significant parts of the country. But you know, we had in the beginning a national program in health, a national program in education, a national program called the National Solidarity Program, the building up the villages based on the priorities of the local citizens. But since those programs, no national program has been developed in Afghanistan. Years have passed without a serious nationwide civilian program. We've lost years here, and we have to try to catch up. It's very difficult when the conflict is raging.
Mr. Qaeda, during your stay in Afghanistan and while you were traveling in the regional countries and meeting with other special representatives of United States and Britain, did you ever hear the word Great Game Part 3?
No, I did not. I never saw it that way. I saw my effort as trying to bring the international community together. I think we did so in political issues. When it comes to development effort, we certainly did not succeed the way I would have liked us to see. We managed to set certain priorities, they are not implemented. But on the political side, through the very complex presidential election process, very, very difficult, very controversial. But remember, the international community as such, the UN and the main international players, were in complete unison on how to approach those elections.
Mr. Qaeda, you yourself are describing these elections as controversial. So once they had become so controversial, why not go for re-election?
Re-election? You mean the second round? Simply because the second candidate withdrew. And I did not believe that it was right to organize a second round of elections with one candidate, when we knew that, first of all, we could risk the lives of many, many people more, and it would cost significant amount of money.
You were also very close friends with President Hamid Karzai.
I wouldn't say friends. It's not the way you interact with the president of a sovereign country. We had a relationship of trust and confidence, yes. But remember, I had to deal with the president in two capacities. One, as a president, and then also for parts of my period there as a candidate. That is not easy, but I believe that I managed also to maintain that balance.
Mr. Eide, once you look back at 2 years of your efforts to bring about peace and reconciliation in Afghanistan, and you read the reports that many of the Taliban leaders have been arrested by the Pakistani authorities, and some of those who were especially involved in talks with the UN. How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm not commenting on what you have said now when you described individuals and so on, but what I feel today is even more strongly that there has to be a political process, which I call what I call it. Call it reconciliation process, peace process. It has to come underway.
To bring about peace, you require two parties. Are the Taliban ready for peace talks?
But this is what I said is a big question mark. But as long as that question remains, you have to pursue the option. If then by pursuing it you find out that the answer is no, then that's serious. I do hope that by pursuing it we'll find out that the answer is yes, and that even as complex as it will be, that we'll be able to find a way to initiate and pursue that kind of process, because it will be difficult. It will require a lot of harmonization, orchestration of efforts, make sure that all are on board. Has to be a nationwide effort also by the Afghanistan people.
Mr. Eide, one last question. With the Obama administration in place, do you think the Cheney-Bush mindset of war on terror is changing, and there is more talk of reconciliation because of Obama's peace overtures and he getting a Nobel Peace Prize here in Oslo?
I don't know how much that plays of a role. What I do believe is that you've seen a gradual change in the US approach. And there is today more of an understanding and more of an acceptance, as far as I can understand, particularly after President Karzai's visit, and more of an understanding and recognition of the fact that this kind of process is required, and that without it, it's not going to work. It's not a question of rushing into a solution. It's not a shortcut. It's part of an integrated overall peace strategy that should have been there years ago.
Mr. Eide, thank you very much for this interaction with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.